After going through the former University of Alabama football standouts, of whom fell in the best possible situation during the National Football League draft, in my opinion, the conversation has returned on, in my own words, Stephen M. Smith, as we now transition into the two biggest strengths for Alabama football for next season. For Crimson Tide fans, you guys basically know what to expect from running backs, quarterbacks in the competition between Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, defensive linemen, linebackers, secondary, despite the fact that the Crimson Tide replacing 6 guys that are now in the National Football League. For the most part, you guys as the fans know what to expect from the majority of position groups. But in my opinion, I see two really big strengths for this team moving forward going into next season. And the first one, the more I look at this group, the more I study this group, the more I watch tape on this group, the more excited I become about this group moving forward, and that's the offensive line under position coach Brent Key. The last 2 seasons, Alabama's front unit has blocked for 38 points, 248 rushing yards, 450 total yards per game. I understand it's without Bradley Bozeman, it's without J.C. Hassenauer, but you look at this group under Brent Key returning. A lot of experience, a lot of talent, a lot of firepower. And after hiring Key from University of Central Florida in 2016, him entering his 3rd year, this looks to be the best group he'll work with, and it could be the most talented group or the most dominant group Nick Saban has worked with since the 2012 season. Now, the 2019 signing class is about to bring in some heavy hitters, including 5-star offensive lineman Pierce Quick from Hewitt-Trussville High School in Birmingham, and also Tanner Bowles, who's coming in at 6'7", 280 pounds from Kentucky. That group will have some heavy hitters, but as of right now, this looks to be the most talented, versatile, diverse group for Brent Key to work with, and one of the best groups since 2012 for Nick Saban to coach. When I look at this offensive line as a whole, starting off at left tackle, you're going to have Jonah Williams. Behind him, Alex Leatherwood. Left guard, Lester Cotton. Behind him, Josh Casher. Center, Ross Pierschbaker. Behind him, Brandon Kennedy. Also keep in mind when Josh Casher came to Alabama in that 2014 class at Mobile, St. Paul Episcopal High School, he was also the #1 or the top-rated center for his class, so he can also play some center. At right guard, you look at Jedrick Wills. Behind him, you can throw Josh Casher in there also. I mean, Casher can play guard. He can also play center, so he'll be a maneuvering piece. And then at right tackle, you look at Matt Womack. Behind him, Scott Lashley coming out of Mississippi. So there's a lot of depth on this offensive line, right? There's a lot of depth, there's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of maneuvering parts. I understand Nick Saban has not put together, set in stone, the best 5 guys for this group, but once that list gets set in stone, should be interesting. In reflecting back on Alabama's spring game, I did notice on a number of occasions where Raekwon Davis, Isaiah Buggs, Quentin Williams, Christopher Allen, Terrell Lewis, Christian Miller, among others, were consistently getting pressure and creating havoc to Jalen Hurts and Mac Jones in the pocket. But to keep things in perspective here, the Alabama offensive line is not going to face a lot of physical, imposing pass rushers in the upcoming schedule. As a matter of fact, I count up 8 guys that they'll face next fall that could give them some friction, some issues, but not too many. Starting off with Louisville, they got one guy, John Greenard, a junior outside linebacker. This past season, Greener, 7 sacks. He was tied for first on the team, 15.5 tackles for loss, which was a team high, 6 quarterback hurries. The guy's 6'4", 257 pounds. When I look at Ole Miss, to start the conference schedule, Ole Miss has 2 guys. They've got Josiah Coatney and Benito Jones. Remember, they lost DeMarcus Gates, Marquise Haynes, and Breland Speaks all to the National Football League. Josiah Coates, who's a junior defensive tackle, last season, 3.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hurries, stands at 6'4", 302 pounds. Benito Jones, junior defensive lineman, this past year, 1.5 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hurries. Moving this to Texas A&M, the Aggies, they've got 2 guys. Landis Durham, senior defensive lineman this year. This past season, Durham 10.5 sacks, which was a team high, 12 tackles for loss, which tied him for first on the team, 4 quarterback hurries. And then you got Atario Alaka, senior linebacker, this past year, 5.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hurries. The LSU Tigers, a team that's known for having pass rushers, a team that's known for having guys that get after the quarterback, they only have 1 big guy. Devin White, junior linebacker, 4.5 sacks last season, 14 tackles for loss. He did lead the team in that category, 5 quarterback hurries. Mississippi State, they've got 2 guys. Montrez Sweat, senior defensive lineman, 10.5 sacks last year, led the team. 15.5 tackles for loss last year, led the team, 4 quarterback hurries. They also have Jeffrey Simmons, junior defensive lineman, defensive end, 5 sacks a season ago, 12 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hurries. Even when you look at Auburn, and Auburn was good last season under Kevin Steele, they had 1 main bell cow getting after the quarterback in Jeff Holland. Holland 10 sacks, which led the team, 22 quarterback hurries led the team, 13 tackles for loss led the team. I don't understand for the life of me why he was not drafted in this venue, but that's another topic for another day. But with Jeff Holland gone, who does Auburn turn to as the guy that consistently affects the quarterback in the pocket? I mean, this could be a pass rush by committee for the Tigers next season with Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson on the defensive line and Deshaun Davis at linebacker. But to end that part, Alabama, not too much pressure for that offensive line, seeing how not a lot of big-time pass rushers is going to have to face next season. The second strength for the Crimson Tide, I'm going with special teams. Special teams in all 3 phases will be a huge surprise for Alabama next season. The hire of Jeff Banks is a big deal, and I don't think a lot of people really recognize how much of a big deal this hire was. Jeff Banks could have easily went with Kevin Sumlin to Arizona and leaving Texas A&M staff. He could have easily stayed with the Aggies on Jimbo Fisher's staff. Now, I understand Fisher coming in, new coach from Florida State, probably wants to bring more of his own guys with him. I get that. But in seeing the productivity that Banks has already put in on special teams, wouldn't have been hard for him to parlay his way or finesse his way into staying on staff. But seeing how Alabama not only threw him the life preserver, seeing how Alabama not only baited him in with, come on, man, sit under the feet of Nick Saban, learn of the process, come here and win championships. The fact that he was not just baited in, but Jeff Banks took the life preserver, took the bait, decided to come to Alabama, this is a big deal. Reason why? In years past, the Crimson Tide have always gotten special teams coaches that they just threw into a role. Special teams was not their ace in the hole, was not their niche, was not their baby, was not their brainchild, was not something that they spent a lot of time doing. I mean, for example, Bobby Williams was more so of a tight ends guy anyway. I mean, yes, the Tide put him on special teams, and he had success with Jeremy Shelley, Lee Tiffin, but was more of a tight ends guy. You look at Burton Burns. Burton Burns is not known for special teams. He's known for running backs. He's known for Glenn Coffey, Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, Eddie Lacy, TJ Yeldon, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, Bo Scarborough, putting all of those guys in the league and producing a number of 1,000-yard backs. That's what Burton Burns is known for. That's what he's recognized for. Producing 2 Heisman Trophy winners in Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry. Burton Burns is not known for special teams. Even Joe Panunzio, same deal. It was kind of eerie seeing him back there at that role a season ago. Jeff Banks, this is what he knows. This is what he does. This is what he schemes for. He's done it his entire career and takes a backseat to nobody for it. You go back to his time at Texas A&M from 2013 to this past season. The Aggies in 2016. I want you to look at these credentials for Jeff Banks. The Aggies in 2016. 11th nationally in punting, averaging 40.7 yards a boot. Drew Kaiser, for his career, averaged 45.8 yards a punt. In 2013, Kaiser's freshman year, averaged 47.4 yards a boot, broke Texas A&M school record, was an All-American that year, and was a finalist for the Ray Guy Award. Drew Kaiser. Then he takes Shane Tripucka, a walk-on. Tripucka, for his career, averaged 44.3 yards a punt. Former walk-on. Christian Kirk recruited him, landed him, signed him in 2015. Proof is in the pudding with Christian Kirk. 6 punt return touchdowns. He's now in the National Football League with the Arizona Cardinals. From a field goal perspective, Josh Lambo, for his career, 21 of 25 made field goals, 84%. And he's right now in the National Football League with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Daniel LaCamera, you go back to 2017, made 18 of 21 tries, 85.7%. The Aggies were first in the SEC in 2016 in field goal success rate, making 86.7% of their kicks, 87% if you round that up. Jeff Banks knows kickers, knows punters, knows return specialists. Spring game, Joseph Bulovas, 5 of 7 on field goals. And I get it, you can't base a lot off an A-Day game, but when was the last time, Tide fans, you saw a kicker that went out on A-Day and got the biggest applause, got the biggest claps, got the biggest, oh my goodness. Fans saw the ball go through the goalpost and couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Dude made a pair of 40-yarders, a 49-yarder and a 48-yarder. Skylar DeLong, punter, taking over for J.K. Scott. Once again, you don't expect him to boom the ball 60, 70, 80 yards. No. Boom it 45 to 50 yards, squeeze the returners, not allow them any room to get a positive return, pin them inside for 20 a couple of times. Just get as close to J.K. Scott as you can. In the return game, you got Xavier Marks, Trayvon Diggs, Henry Ruggs. You're bringing in Jalen Waddle from Bel Air, Texas in the summer, a guy that's going to be a slot receiver, also a pretty lethal return man. Jeff Banks, takes a back seat to nobody in special teams. This is a huge strength. When I look at Nick Saban, when he wakes up in the morning, gets his bacon and eggs, toast, coffee, with a little Debbie cake, or whatever Miss Terry chooses to serve him, make for him that morning, I'm pretty sure Nick Saban looks in the mirror and goes, I'm a bad mamma jamma. No other coach can hold a candlestick to me because I know what I'm doing. And I'm college football's elite. You could name a lot of other coaches who believe the exact same way. Urban Meyer, Lincoln Riley, Mike Gundy, Kirby Smart, Jimbo Fisher, Bill Snyder, Lane Kiffin. I mean, you can throw a lot of coaches out there, but not a lot of them can say it as confidently and as consistently as Nick Saban can say it. Bad mamma jamma. Bad dude. I'm the elite of college football. Nobody can hold a candlestick to me. And just like Nick Saban believes that, he expects every coach on his staff to think the same way, even down to the intern known as Butch Jones. When Butch Jones is putting the sweet and low in the coaching staff's coffee, when Butch Jones is handing out those towels, handing out that water, Coach Saban wants them to believe, hey, I'm the best at making this coffee. I'm the best at handing out this water. I'm the best at giving out these towels. A bad man. Nobody can give out these towels better than I can. Jeff Banks feels the exact same way about special teams. I'm not letting this position take a backseat to nobody. We're going to have the best special teams in the business. We're going to make sure every part from the kicking to the punting to the return game is top notch. And getting a guy like that where it's his bread and butter, he knows it, it's a big thing for Nick Saban's staff. That's a big thing for Alabama moving forward. That's a shot in the arm. Because it's been a long time since you've looked at a kicker going out there and 3 points should be automatic. I go back to the national championship game against Georgia. Everybody's grateful for 2nd and 26. Tua Tagovailoa and Devonta Smith will go down in Alabama folklore history for that 2nd and 26. It was great. It was amazing. It was incredible. But that game should have been won in the fourth quarter with 3 seconds to go on the leg of Andy Pappanastis. That game should have been won. That's a 36-yard field goal from the middle of the field. You gotta make that kick. Having Jeff Banks on this roster right here, on this coaching staff, get ready for a huge year on special teams. That's a strength in my book. Offensive line and special teams, 2 things to look forward to. Taking our final break here on In My Own Words. When we get back, edition 3 of Diving Into the Mailbag, the Ask Steven segment. I take on your questions, your thoughts, your concerns next about the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll be right back. It's your boy, Stephen M. Smith, host of In My Own Words, the podcast. If you are a fan of this show, then I encourage you to subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media as we continue to bring you the best in Alabama football and Crimson Tide athletics.